Hello everyone, Juxtaposition here. Today's video will follow up on the Hoax felony arson fires too. One for 1766 Walgrove Avenue, a controlled barbecue using professional incendiary devices planted in 5 of 5 rooms, perhaps more than 5 incendiary devices in this small, very small 738 square foot home. Military housing built in 1952 and never renovated or remodeled or upgraded in its life. And now it will be. It'll be torn down. It'll be destroyed. It's a crime scene. But you can see there's no respect given to this crime scene by law enforcement nor the fire department. They're not conducting any kind of a fire arson investigation. I'm sure there's going to be an insurance company that will be paying or asked to pay for this rebuild. So I don't see, their investigators running out there to object to the fact that the car was towed away immediately after the blaze. I mean, if I was an insurance auditor, I don't think I would agree with that. To me, it's destroying the crime scene. How am I going to do an arson investigation if you remove one of the, supposedly the projectile to the accident was the car? So perhaps that needs to be looked into. But hey, it's just like the Sharon Tate murder case. The Los Angeles police looked into that for 4 months, were shunted aside by Evel Younger, who works as a brigadier general for the United States Air Force and the OSS and then CIA. And he's the district attorney, and he says, little bird whispered in my ear, it was this 5'2" poet with a guitar. He did it. So we don't need you guys anymore. Run along. And don't worry about the prescription glasses, and don't sweat about the 39 fingerprints that you never figured out who they belonged to at the murder scene. And don't worry about the 5-house complex that is military in Cielo Canyon. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about Timothy Leary. Don't worry about Sunbrook Drive. Don't worry about 10048 Cielo. Don't worry about it. We're not going to mention that at the murder trial. So we don't need any further investigation from the Los Angeles Robbery Homicide Division, nor do we need any help from the Hollywood Robbery Homicide Division. Because you'll notice they're not looking into the Lindsay Pearlman case either. And they're not looking into the Anne Heche murder case or missing persons case. Anyway, we're going to talk about the Anne Heche. What have we learned in the last 2 weeks? And then I'm going to pivot. I don't mean to clickbait you, but I'm going to pivot to just a variety of other topics that are interrelated with things that we learned from the Anne Heche case. And I am encouraging new viewers, and I'm happy to report that half my viewers are now women, which I started out with the Charlie Manson mendacities, and I urge you to please, if you're a new viewer, go back and look at those, because you'll be stunned with the similarities with the Sharon Tate, Abigail Folger, Lena LaBianca cover-up, because they were killed by military M7 bayonets. NATO. Okay? And this weapon was not found at the murder scene. Okay? And this is very specific, designed to go through rib cages of people. There's 154 wounds from this type of weapon. And there was probably a dozen of these weapons with a dozen men with rifles. This attaches to the barrel of a rifle, and then it's 10 times more deadly when you can lean your weight into this. This is razor sharp, double edge. The victims were all struck with double edge bayonets, and yet this was discovered at the crime scene. This is single edge. It's a buck knife. It's a very dangerous, menacing weapon, but it is only sharp on one side. It's also very wide. It's 28 millimeters wide, which is 6 millimeters, more than half of centimeter wider. So this does not comport nor does not match the signature of the wounds of the 7 victims in the Sharon Tate murder case. So this was not used in the murder. It didn't have any fingerprints, didn't have any blood on it, does not attach to a rifle, which you need to have attached to a rifle to put in the kind of damage of 154 stab wounds. What I'm trying to tell you is that's the Anne Heche case. You have evidence that doesn't belong present, and then you have evidence that caused the fire, the incendiary devices, and I know it's there, but it's concealed. because they're not conducting any kind of a arson investigation, are they? No, they're not. So you have real evidence that'll be ignored, like 39 fingerprints, like the 5 houses surrounding the subject property. Well, it's 5 houses including the murder house. So it's 4 staging houses, 1 murder target site. Over at Waverly, you got 3 houses, 2 staging houses, and 1 subject property where La Biancas were murdered. And 2 houses literally 150 feet away with no fence. You can cross over the property line day or night, and the bushes will hide you. So you can sneak on and off the property day or night. Makes no difference. No one's going to see you. The neighbors won't see you. And there's lots of neighbors, but they won't see you because the view is obscured. It's the exact situation at Cielo Drive. It's the exact situation at 1766 Walgrove Avenue, where they have the 2 hedgerows so that you can't see onto that property as a nosy neighbor. And so that the helicopter knows in advance, stay behind the hedgerow, don't have the cameraman pan into the courtyard so that you can see the staging crew, busy beavers, knocking out that wall to create the illusion, the magic trick that the car went through the wall. So anyway, let's summarize the Ann Hayes situation here. What have we learned, okay, in the last 2.5 weeks since August 5th? Well, I'll tell you what we've learned. We learned that Ann Hayes was happy. She was sober, okay? She was purchasing a red wig for $125 plus some hair products. And she posed for a selfie with the owner, Richard Glass, of the Glass Hair Design store, located at 1501 Walgrove Avenue. And for all you new viewers, if you think I'm meandering or you think I'm digressing too much, just go back and look at my previous Ann Hayes videos. I mean, this will be number 15, so I realize it's a lot to see. But if you haven't started at the beginning and moved forward, then don't criticize me for gobbledygook. Okay, this channel is not for lazy viewers. If you're lazy, get off the channel. Just get off the channel. It's not suitable for you. This is not an attention deficit disorder channel. It's the opposite of that. This is for people with cognitive reasoning skills. It's educational, and it's also very collaborative. So negative comments it just gets me to delete you. I mean, I want you gone, all right? I don't want to hear your poppycock. There are literally tens of thousands of CIA endorsed channels out there for Charlie Manson, for Aaron Valente. Well, they have no channels for Aaron Valente, and they have no channels for Lindsay Pearlman, which kind of indicates that perhaps those are important women that were murdered, because there's no discussion about those 2 women. We're talking about Ann Hayes. This is the 3rd time, people. It's not her first rodeo. Disney Studios and ABC News barbecued and lambasted Ann Hayes. The weekend of August 19th, 2000, the breakup bender of Ann Hayes, when she broke up with her 3-year fake relationship with Ellen DeGeneres, this lesbian virtue signaling fake relationship. That's how fake that lesbian relationship was. It was so fake that they had to use Hollywood actresses to do it. They couldn't go out and find real lesbians. They had to find fake lesbians. They're professional actors. How do you know when they're acting and when they're not? And the answer is, you don't. If the camera's on, they're acting. If the camera's on, they're acting. And they're getting paid. Right? That's why people would do it. Ann Hayes was paid, just like Sharon Tate was paid to pretend to be married to a little dwarf, 5'4", Roman Polanski. That was a fake marriage, all right? Doris Day dating Rock Hudson. Are you serious? He's a homosexual man. He already has a fake wife. He doesn't need to date Doris Day. But the illusion is that there's this romantic chemistry between Doris Day and Rock Hudson. Poppycock, no way. I don't know if they liked each other or not. Rumor is that they were friends. So was Elizabeth Taylor. She was friends with Rock Hudson also. But who knows? But he's a homosexual man, so there's not going to be any romance with Doris Day. So just knock it off. They're actors. They're acting. They're told to do these things. They're not asked to do them. They're instructed to do them. Or else. So what have we learned? We learned that you obey or else. So Anne Heche got lambasted, and the Disney Studios and ABC News typed up a fraudulent fake series of reports that said that Anne Heche experienced a lost weekend after she broke up with Ellen DeGeneres up in Fresno, 9.5 miles north of the Harris Ranch, where we turn cows into hamburger, off Nebraska Road, off of Highway 33, off of Interstate 5, the Imperial Highway. The Imperial Highway. You can go from the La Bianca crime scene to the Anne Heche manic episode, in about 4.5 hours drive, I think. Just past the In-N-Out Burger. All right. I'll let you know that that Disney introduced the concept that she was a drunkard because of the breakup bender. They had no proof of that. There's no science to that. There's no lab test for that. There's just fake news. What's the difference between TMZ and ABC News? Nothing. Nothing. It's the same thing. It's the same thing, same product. Anyway, then they suggested she's on the ecstasy drug. Well, that's what they said about Abigail Folger. It's MDMA. That's also what they said about Charles Watson, who they keep calling Tex. He never called himself Tex. Nobody called him Tex. Just the media, because they don't want you to confuse Charlie Watson, which was his name, Charlie Watson, with the Charlie Manson, cult leader, fake cult leader guy, the midget, the poet, playing the guitar. There's two Charlies. And then if you add Judge Older, whose name is Charles, that's 3 Charles. Charles Older, OSS, Flying Tiger, pilot, USC graduate, not at the top of his class, but he was a good pilot, number 3 ace. Anyway, you got Charles Older, you got Charles Manson, and you got Charles Watson. Who did it? Except they never found the M7 bayonet, which actually did do it, and at least a dozen of those. And they found one of these, which didn't do it. And they found a Ronald Reagan pistol, which wasn't ballistically matched to the 7 bullets dug out of the victims. So, fake evidence, poppycock. So, Anne Heche was labeled as a lost weekend, when in reality it was 5 hours at her hospital in Fresno, and she allegedly saw doctors for 2 hours. Then she hops on a plane, flies to Toronto, and manages to direct, mind you, a film with Denzel Washington as the star. No harm, no foul, no problems, no manic episodes, no bender breakup weekends in Toronto, I guess. So that was 22 years ago that ABC News lambasted Anne Heche, and I'm sure she got paid to be that. 1 year later, in 2001, Anne Heche lent her name to a book. You can look it up. I think Amazon, would sell it, of course. They sell all CIA propaganda books. All fake books go through Amazon, of course. And it was called Crazy Lady. Crazy Lady. So a year after the crazy episode in Fresno, north of the Harris Ranch, Anne Heche does a do-over in the form of a book where she talks about her drug problems and her sexual abuse, which her mother disagreed with. And we have another Crazy Lady validation confession. Anne Heche being a wackadoodle Hollywood actress. She got paid on the book, and she got paid from whoever markets the book. So it's an acting gig. The lesbian relationship with Ellen DeGeneres, she got paid on that. She got paid to do the manic lost weekend breakup bender weekend. She got paid on that. She got paid on the Crazy Lady book. That's 21 years ago. Then she is involved, allegedly, with being declared dead because of a fiery car crash, which could never happen in real life under any circumstances. No matter how you slice your banana, it's not going to come up 1766 Walgrove exploding into a thermonuclear bomb by a car that couldn't possibly get through the hedgerow and then onto a magic carpet and climb 5 feet up in the air and crash through a wall, blow up the house, and not harm a turtle or a turtle lady. Lynne Mishell and her turtle. So I'm saying this is the 4th rodeo with Anne Heche. This is not the first time. It's the fourth time. It's the fourth time that Anne Heche pretended to be something that she's not, because she's an actress, and it wasn't run through a sitcom or a film. It was portrayed as fake news. The lesbian relationship with Ellen DeGeneres was fake news. The breakup bender weekend in Fresno County, that was fake news. The Crazy Woman book was fake entertainment news. The featuring of Anne Heche on Harvey Levin's TMZ, that's fake entertainment news, which is not any different than ABC News or CBS News. That's fake entertainment news also, under the guise of being non-fictional. You know, it's hard to not laugh when you have Walter Cronkite as your icon. I mean, pathological liar Walter Cronkite, when did he ever tell the truth about any story? I mean, he's a pretty stupid person, so he probably even believed some of the nonsense that was on the cue cards that they told him to read. He's just reading the news, people. He's not investigating the Tet offensive. He certainly didn't delve into the My Lai massacre, did he? No, he didn't. That was 30 days after he told everybody that he's right there with the Tet offensive, probably having the weapons discharged deliberately on purpose by his director to make it look scarier than it really was. I mean, if he was really crazy, why doesn't he just, pick up a weapon and run in and see if he can find some Viet Cong? Because there's no Viet Cong anywhere in the story, people. That was a fake psychops. All right, so the Anne Heche, we learned that there were apparently 2 ring cameras on Preston Way, which I'm going to dismiss both of them as poppycock, unreliable, CIA-controlled, and of course one is at the home of a senior vice president of digital programming. So right there I'm going to dismiss that one. That's at 1353 Preston Way. Used to have an RV on the driveway, guess it's been moved. But the main film came from 1338 Preston Way, depicting both a oddly parked car on the left, which is east corner of 1338, off the curb, blocking at least half the street, and then the alleged Anne Heche car just missing it at what appeared to be about 50 miles an hour. Anyway, it's all poppycock. There shouldn't be a parked car. The car, look, if there's a car coming at me at 50 miles an hour in a 15-mile-an-hour zone, I'm going to pull over to the right and get as close to the curb or jump up on the sidewalk. I'm not going to stay in the middle of the road where I could get a head-on collision. So there's just so many problems with what was depicted. The imagery of the ring camera at 1338 does not correlate with reality. And people say there's no driver in the car. Well, I don't care if there was or there wasn't, or it was remote control. The whole thing looks staged and poppycock to me. It doesn't make sense that you have a parked car obscuring. It doesn't make sense that there's no driver. It doesn't make sense. Who's the owner of this camera, and how did they get it into the public domain? So I'm going to say that that's an operative in the operation. That's what we've learned. And we've learned that Anne Heche is not a drunkard, and we learned that she's perfectly okay at 10:35 a.m. in the morning. And so she doesn't appear to be a woman in a hurry or in a rush. She's got, approximately 12 minutes to drive over to, the neighborhood of Preston Way and Glendon, which is the block before Walgrove. And I don't think she did that drive. I think she had us a control agent, and the control agent was probably driving, and Anne Heche was probably the passenger, and they went some other place. Perhaps they went to the Straight Satan's Clubhouse at 1 Clubhouse Avenue, which is a CIA-controlled building, and they could have gone there. That would have taken approximately 90 seconds to drive there. It's real close. Or maybe they went down to Muscle Beach and see if they could find Arnold Schwarzenegger and his John Benet Ramsey, pretty boy smile, because we all learned that Arnold Schwarzenegger is controlled completely and became an actor completely and had Sharon Tate's younger sister, Deborah, riding on his steroid-produced shoulders without her bikini top. And he goes on to become a gubernator who always vetoes the California State Parole Board when they want to release Patricia Krenwinkel or Leslie Van Houten or Charlie Watson, who's innocent. And he vetoes that, just like Gavin Newsom vetoes that. In other words, he's a governor with no brains, no authority. He does what he's told. Or else. I understand. I understand that if Arnold Schwarzenegger doesn't do exactly what he's told, he'll get whacked. I mean, it would be no problem to whack him. No problem at all. They whacked William Colby, for God's sakes. He was director of CIA. If they can whack the director of CIA, they can whack anybody. And they do. I wonder if Arnold Schwarzenegger knows Lindsay Perlman. I wonder if Arnold Schwarzenegger knows David Manpearl. You know? I wonder if Arnold Schwarzenegger knows Dana Theodoratos, Vice President, Senior Vice President of Digital Programming, and she's involved with casting for CBS, Paramount Global, Warner Brothers, CW. I wonder if he knows them. I'll bet he does. I'll bet he does. So we've learned that, Arnold, my advice to you is stay off television. I know they're going to drag you back. Maybe you'll run for president. You're running, your shelf life is coming to expiration. So if I was you, I would get long COVID, and try to stay within the guidelines of the cult ritual and get off camera. And that's the same advice I give to Dakota Johnson, who's going to have her 33rd birthday, soon on October 4th. Get off camera, get out of the business. Just come up with some cover story and get off and save your life. Because this is a dirty, dirty business. So anyway, so the media has declared Anne Heche dead, and the media is always correct, right? So we're moving on to other psychops. I realize that my audience may not be satisfied. I'm not satisfied. And anybody who doesn't think that my content is valid, then get off the channel, okay? I have really intelligent viewers. I have really intelligent subscribers. And they're helping me, and they're giving me information that I did not know. And I'm not going to repeat all of it right now, but the point is they're very helpful. And they're asking extremely intelligent questions. It's a psychops. It's a magic trick. We don't have all the information. Look, if you really want to solve the Anne Heche case, it's extremely simple. Just get her cell phone records, right? Get the telemetry data. You know she's driving a fairly new car. So was Lindsay Perlman. Aaron Valente was driving a 2020 Nissan Murano, brand new. It had the GPS tracking system, brand new. Okay? Lindsay Perlman had a new car. She's got GPS tracking navigation system in the car. And so does Anne Heche. So they got car navigation. Get the telemetry data. What cell phone towers, pings, did those cars send in the 5 days leading up to their disappearance or discovery of their dead body? Get their cell phone records. What's the national secret? They're supposed to all be dead, right? So if they're dead, there shouldn't be any national security secret anymore. Where did they go? Where were they? Did they get separated from their automobile? I'll bet they did. Did they get put back in their automobile? I bet they did. But they won't release that. And the reason is because the magician is not allowed to tell the trick to the public. The mechanics. It's called the mechanics. Because if you understood how you pull a bunny rabbit out of a hat and how you can guess, a card, I'm thinking of a number for between 1 and 5. I'm thinking of a number. Tell me what the number is. Oh, look under the lamp and you'll see that I guessed your number. It's just, these are lame, basic tricks that they would be taught to an entry-level magician at the Magic Castle at 7001 Franklin Avenue. Across the street from where Charlie Manson lived for about a year. And then where Charlie Watson lived on the west side of the Magic Castle. A block away from Will Smith pretending to bitch slap Chris Rock. Remember that deception, illusion, trick? 21 camera angles, only show you one. It's the same trick they pulled at Anne Heche. The helicopter stays behind the hedgerow. You can't see in. You don't know if there's 5 or 6 guys in there putting things together, taking things away, taking bomb residue, debris away. Tampering with the crime scene. And then you got that little act with the fake body double for Anne Heche, who's on the gurney and got her ankles are tied up with a strap, and then she gets shoved back down and thrown into the fire car ambulance and then taken to some place where maybe she was helicoptered, maybe she wasn't, to a cosmetic surgeon who's totally compromised up by the Spawn Ranch near Ventura County in Los Angeles County, but right on the cusp near Canoga Park, when UCLA is right there. UCLA Medical Center is right there. You could walk to it. Why are you going to the Spawn Ranch? Why are you going to a cosmetic surgery / burn center when you could go to the UCLA Medical Burn Center? Why are you doing this? Okay? It's because it's not what the media tells you. It's a staged event. So we don't really know where Anne Heche is. We don't know if she's alive or dead. We don't know if Tom Hanks is alive or dead either. We don't know if Jeffrey Epstein is alive or dead. But what we learned from the Anne Heche case is that what was presented on camera, that there was a Mini Cooper traveling at 50 to 90 miles an hour, according to David Manpearl, down Preston Way, negotiating 2 gutters, a curb, a crowned road, a 30-foot hedgerow, didn't break a branch, then leaps 3 feet up in the air, punching through sheetrock and stucco and 2x4 framing into a home, destroying all 5 rooms, including the bathroom and 2 bedrooms, which are on the other side of the house, without harming a turtle or the turtle lady, without burning the 2 homes on either side, 1802 and 1760 and 1800. That's 3 homes that are adjacent to the subject property. None were burned. The burn was controlled to the car and the house, which is a teardown. It's a teardown house. 1952 is a long time ago for a house. So it will be rebuilt. One way or the other, it will be rebuilt. Crime scene will be destroyed. And there's nothing to see here. Move along. And don't forget, we've also learned that zip code area, the greater Culver City, a.k.a. Venice, has a long history with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Muscle Beach. It has a long history with the Straight Satans, which is literally one parking lot next to Muscle Beach, which is CI Drug Distribution Center. It has an Army weapons armory in that zip code. It has Venice High School, where they film Modern Family episodes, where Elisa Statman is the assistant director for that television series, or was for a number of years. And she lived at the Cielo Drive property house. She even bragged and boasted about it. And then she puts her name on a book called Restless Souls, where she repeats the Manson mendacities, which are 100% false. So she's in on rinse and repeating the false narrative. And she worked in that zip code where the Anne Heche crime scene was. The arson crime scene that Anne Heche didn't participate in. And that is where they filmed Hogan's Heroes episodes and war propaganda films and military propaganda, morale films for the Navy and the Army and the Marines and the Air Force on the east side of the San Diego Freeway, approximately 4 miles from the 1766 burn house. And this is the home to the New Road School where Dakota Johnson attended. It's approximately 0.8 of a mile away. It's also about 2 miles away from where the Synanon Church was located, technically in Santa Monica, but 2 miles from the Anne Heche crash scene, alleged crash scene. It's a lot of CIA operations, OSS and CIA operations, military-industrial complex, and those are the ones that I know about. And I'm here to tell you people, I'm sure there's dozens more that I don't know about. I only know what I know, and I know that is a military-industrial grid for the last 70 to 80 years. That's what I know. So if you're going to have an organic car crash involving Anne Heche, pick a different actress. Pick Dakota Johnson. She doesn't have a history as a crazy lady with a weekend bender with a lesbian relationship. So why don't you pick Dakota Johnson to do your car crashes? Or better yet, don't use a Hollywood actress. How's that? Just use a real crazy lady. I mean, there actually are crazy ladies out there. And, maybe you could sign them up for the Screen Actors Guild, that day and have them go drive into an In-N-Out Burger. I might believe that. But if you're going to use a Hollywood actress that you've used 3 times before for hoax, fake public events, and you crash into an OSS CIA owned and controlled military industrial army housing dump, and you're going to have a pet turtle, and you're going to have David Manpearl be the first responder who's a friend with Kato Kaelin? I'll never believe it. Never. Okay. Anyway, so now that I got your attention, I just wanted to let you know of the tremendous similarities there are with the Charlie Manson cover story, which completely covers up the NATO bayonet attack, which happened the weekend of August 9th and 10th, 1969. And also covers up Art Linklater and his pacification and control program and the murder of his 20-year-old daughter, Diane Linklater, who was thrown out of her kitchen window at 9 o'clock on a Saturday morning while she's baking cookies. She's baking cookies, and then and the media says she committed suicide because she was on LSD. And again, there's no basis for that. There's no proof that she was on LSD. There's no medical. Thomas Noguchi didn't say that. The media said that. They didn't say, no medical hospital doctor said that Anne Heche was on the ecstasy drug. ABC News said that. How would they know? Unless they're in the news bending fake news business like British broadcasting is. BBC brags that they're 5 years out, that they create tomorrow's news 5 years in advance. I've posted that link before, Newsbenders with Donald Palance telling you in the month that Sharon Tate had a 2-hour cocktail party, which was billed as her fake wedding with Roman Polanski. That month, January 20th, 1968, BBC produced a 30-minute film entitled Newsbenders, starring Donald Palance, who's the Dr. Evil, but he says he's on the 6th floor and there's 4 more floors above him, where you get paid enormous amounts of money to do digital programming, kind of like Dana Theodorakis. I don't know what her salary is. Dana Theodorakis. Theodoratos. But I'll tell you, if she worked for BBC, she'd be getting paid around $5 million a year. Base salary. Base salary would be $5 million. Plus a bonus for results. Now, this Anne Heche thing is pretty amateur hour, so if I would ask for some of the money back. If I was running the private banking, I'd say, you know what? Not only is there not going to be a bonus, I think we need to refund the base salary. Because it really was not well done. Anyway, if you look at the Jeffrey McDonald murder of his wife and 2 daughters at Fort Bragg, 1 year after the, not 1 year, 6 months after the Sharon Tate murder, you have the Jeffrey McDonald, he murdered his family, fake narrative. Tremendous similarities with the Anne Heche case. The media doing what the media always does, they lie. Unsubstantiated poppycock in the Jeffrey McDonald case. That went on for 10 years, by the way. And that includes Dick Cavett, who's with ABC, I believe, Disney. And then that includes Bob Schaefer, who's with CBS, William Paley, Walter Cronkite, Poppycock Network. So you got poppycock on all sides. And, you look at the elements of the Patricia Hearst kidnapping, very similar to the Anne Heche story. Very similar. Except we had, other component pieces. The SLA, the evil SLA, Donald DeFreeze, William and Emily Harris, who went to the same university that Jim Jones and his wife went to, Indiana University in Bloomington. And what do you know? One becomes a People's Temple preacher and a Jonestown cult leader, and the other ones become kidnappers of Patricia Hearst, and they all went to the same university. What a coincidence. And what you should see is that actually these are not coincidences. These people that go to Yale, which includes Oliver Stone, or Princeton, which is William Colby, and Oliver Stone's son, Sean Stone. He went to Princeton. Brooke Shields went to Princeton when they allowed women. Alan Dulles, John Foster Dulles went to Princeton. And you look at the people who went to Harvard, like Timothy Leary was a department editor at Harvard. He went to the University of California, Berkeley. He went to a couple other universities also. But Ted Kaczynski went to Harvard, got an undergraduate degree from Harvard. Then he went and got a PhD from University of California, Berkeley. And so there's tremendous revolving door involving MIT, Noam Chomsky, I'm talking about you, linguistics, applied linguistics, poppycock, the professor of poppycock, Noam Chomsky, talking about you. Make sure you put 4 face diapers on before you send me a message. If you're not fully maxed, and I'd like you in a pressurized spacesuit also, because I think you're got a lot of COVID in you. So, and it's really altered your brain into the Timothy Leary, Sidney Gottlieb, Louis Jolyon West has worked Noam Chomsky over big time because he's gone. It's in senile dementia land now. But he was gone 50 years ago. He was gone then. So that's my story for today, is that those universities and systems that receive federal funding and federal grants or have endowments into the hundreds of billions of dollars, but still charge huge tuition to their students, even though they're loaded. Those are corporate indoctrination centers for the banks. It's a bank-funded society. The Anne Heche event was sponsored. Somebody wrote checks and paid people. I don't think David Manpearl ran down there for the kindness of his heart to set up a GoFundMe page and did a podcast with Kato Kaelin, who's getting paid. He's found a job. He's moved on from being an unemployed actor living in the pool house at O.J. Simpson's house to partnering with Carl Colby, the son of William Colby, who Carl Colby is now a producer, director, person in Hollywood. What a surprise. Next door neighbor of Nicole Brown, who was murdered by, a Gladio-style death. It's not a coincidence at all. When you delve into this and you see that they use magic, mechanical tricks of deception and illusion and diversion and noise and false imagery and digital programming, false narratives and parallel narratives, and lots of poppycock, and people glom on to whatever they prefer to hear. Because people love poppycock. They love it. You should put some butter and salt on it and call it poppycock popcorn. Anyway, that's not what this channel's all about. Obviously, I like popcorn too, but I'm not going to OD on popcorn. I prefer the truth, really. I just do. It is disturbing. I admit that. And I want to put some gallows humor in here because, look, the more you understand how these cowards work, they're cowardly people. These are cowards. As soon as you pull back the curtain, like at the Wizard of Oz, and you see it's a little old man on a stepladder, and there is no Moloch owl with the giant, flames coming out the nostril. Once you realize that's all a circus trick, that's a magic act from the Magic Castle, and that's Hollywood being cowardly, deceptive creeps that they are, they run, they flee the scene. They don't want to be around people who understand them. They're actually very, very scared, insecure, frightened people. They have no soul. They're soulless. It's not hard to find where they reside either. They're typically behind a large hedgerow. But if they want to stay in their little prison, that's fine with me. If they leave their compound, hey, it's a dangerous world, man. Watch out. People run stop signs. As we learned from the Anne Heche case, if you believe the poppycock narrative, she ran that stop sign. Well, what if a banker was driving by, or a Hollywood studio exec that's plugged into the clandestine server? What if Anne Heche crashed into him at 90 miles an hour, according to David Perlman? Then that banker would be dead. Yeah, with or without a death certificate. I don't care about the certificate of death. I'm just wondering, if the world can function with fewer private bankers. I bet it can. The fewer, the better. All right, take care. Have a great day. Bye now.